Welcome to another episode of Talking Chaos. In this episode, we'll be discussing Warlock Fred's recent loss of his 20s.
In this episode, I'm in the hot seat. We actually have finally hit the birthday episode. Once again, we would like to thank our patrons who have supported us this far. This podcast is possible through their contributions. If you'd like to join our patrons, our Patreon can be found at patreon.com/talkingchaos.
Right on. I appreciate that. Anybody who listens to us, I'm a huge fan of. I'm a little out of it at the moment. We'll be fine. We can do this. Warlock Fred turned 30. He recently turned 30. How do you feel about turning 30?
So, for me, turning 30 happened at or people started bringing it up at 27. So but I went through legitimately the 5 stages of grief with turning 30.
When did the first stage start to happen? You say 27?
Yeah, about 27, where people were like, "Oh, you're almost 30." No, the fuck I'm not.
Denial hard.
That denial, that hard denial of dirty, or 30 was a fucking dirty word to me.
That dirty 30.
Yeah, 30 was a fucking dirty ass word. It was. We cuss a lot on here, and it was a fucking dirty word to me.
Yeah, denial is not just a river in Egypt, my friend. That's for sure. How do you feel about it now?
How do I feel? I've came around. I did the bargaining shit. I met my good friend Whiskey during this time frame, and and
got acquainted with his dear friend Bourbon.
Yes. And that helped well, but I've actually reached the acceptance point of, you know what, I guess if I really have to be 30, I guess I'll be 30. It doesn't help though that my daughter was there for my 30th birthday, and now she's like, "Hey Dad, you're still 30, right?"
Yeah.
it's been almost a continual thing, almost every day, every other day, "Hey Dad, you're still 30, right?" Yeah, I'm still fucking 30. There are days
you still can't reach the cereal, right? It was burning her with other stuff, trying to get back, make yourself feel better.
You're still fucking 4, right?
Yeah, we're eating Raisin Bran for the next couple weeks. Listen, hon, unless you remember that I like to be 27, will you get Captain Crunch again?
Well, I mean, it's always nice, and I feel a little young whenever I go to a liquor store, somewhere where a restaurant, and they're like, "Oh, can I I order some whiskey or whatever," and they're like, "Oh, can I see your ID?" It makes me feel young. I know that it's because I look under 40, but it makes me
definitely take advantage of a law there. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I know they're legally obliged to ask me how old I am and to see my ID, but I appreciate it. Yeah, I almost get a little disappointed now when I go to the store, because I go to the same store and they stop asking me for my ID at 24.
Whew.
So they're just like, "Yep, here's your smokes." Awesome.
Oh, no, there was a store back when I was 23 that they'd be like, "Oh, are you 21?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm 21." And they'd look at my ID for a second, and I was like, "I'm sorry, it's not a fake ID. It's just that I've been 21 for a minute." And I just "Yeah, I'm 21" is more of the accurate description than "Yeah, I'm 23." I don't want to be that old yet.
Yeah, nobody likes you when you're 23. Famous song lyrics from a very, very a close band of mine. I appreciate it. What are you most disappointed about in being 30 or turning 30 or still being alive?
Honestly, that I didn't get my shit together sooner.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a very relatable 30s feeling.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm pretty sure what you said as well. But
oh yeah.
It resonates well with me because I was a real person before I joined the military. I jokingly say that to people I'm in the military with, because they go in at right out of fucking high school at 18, and they're like, "Oh, well, I'm Dapper Dan," and whatever the fuck else,
right.
Frankie first year type shit. And it's no, I actually I was a person. I've experienced being broke as fuck. there have been some jobs that I had where I was making $900 a week, and there were other there was a point in my life where I had, between my wife and I, we weren't married. No, we weren't married at the time. Like, we had 36 cents to us, like the two of us.
Been there.
Yeah,
definitely been there. I think that's almost something that anybody, like, it's a rite of spring, so to speak, for people between the age of 21 and 30. Like, if you haven't been broke as fuck, then either you had your shit together, for one, which most don't.
Yeah, or mommy and daddy paid for everything.
Right, or you were silver spooned as all shit.
Not necessarily silver spoon, because that's another level.
I have a broad sense of what that word means, to be honest with you. I'm a little silver spooned because right now my rent is exuberantly cheap. Like, people live in cardboard boxes for more than what I'm paying for rent right now.
Jesus Christ.
I'm just saying. They have a crack habit too, but that's not the point. What are you most encouraged? What's the most encouraging part about being 30? What are you most excited about in being 30? Is it the whiskey? Is that the part that's
I mean, that was a good part of it. Like, finding bourbon was a good part of it. Like, that adventure to finding bourbon.
God damn, you should write a book called Finding Bourbon.
Maybe someday, we'll see. But no, what am I most encouraged
run through of your 20s.
What am I most encouraged about? I don't know. Like, that's one of those rough ones that, like, what am I most encouraged about? Like, I mean, I'm not like 19 anymore where I can't drink, but also, like, I'm not 19 where everybody's like, well, you got your whole life ahead of you. You get to do all these different things. Like, like, you've got so much you've got the future to look forward to.
Your whole life is ahead of you. Yeah, I think like half of it is. If I'm dead by 60, I'll be pretty happy.
Well, like, the whole, like, 19-year-old, like, you got your whole life ahead of you, and it's like, yeah, except you fucked up the economy. So really, I don't.
That's kind of true.
I gotta.
We fucked it up too a little bit. Like, we didn't do it in 08, but like, we haven't helped, and we've been contributing to the economy ever since then.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily that we fucked up the economy. That was fucked up before we turned 18 and it got fucked up, but it was more there was a lot of things going on that, like, we can't contribute. Like, we're trying to now fix what the generations before us, like, fucked up. And so we're trying to fix what's going on, whereas we don't have the means, the income. Or
it doesn't sound very encouraging.
It's not. That's why it's so hard to find something that, what am I encouraged about? I mean,
do you have your shit together now, would you say?
Yes.
Do you find that encouraging?
I do. Like, that's, for me, the encouraging thing is that I'm able to pay my bills, pay my rent, and still have a little bit left over to be able to either put it in savings and, like, so I can work towards retirement, or, like, be able to go on a vacation that's, like, something that I've saved for and done or worked towards and earned. But also, like, so I grew up in a family where they had more kids than money. And, like, I have 3 siblings, and now I have 1 child, and I can be able to spoil the fuck out of her if I so choose to. And that's something that I'm encouraged about. Like,
you don't have to try to split that budget between her and 3 other people.
Yeah. And, like, not only that, but, like, split that budget, but also, like, split the feeding that person. Like, feeding 6 people is a bit more different than feeding 3.
Yeah. Well, 2.5, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, fuck, you should see how she eats. It's 3.
Jesus. Speaking of your family, how did your parents prepare you for the world that you stepped into? And when you were, like, at what point did you feel like you got your shit together? Was it recently? Was it a few years ago? Was it yesterday?
So, my parents didn't really prepare me for today's world. I mean, granted, they also weren't prepared for it themselves.
That's a fair statement. Yeah. Like, I don't think my parents were prepared for being adults.
Yeah. And, so, like, with them, it was more the, like, oh, you need to, get good grades so you can get into a good college. And then you need to once you get into a good college, you need to get good grades so you can get a degree. And then, like you can get a good job if you have a good degree. And like, that was kind of the like spoon-fed version, despite the fact that my dad worked in a factory, like was blue collar most of his life, for his entire life.
Yeah.
And so like with me, it was not only was it the like oxymoron of like, wait a minute, this is what you did and you're telling me to do not that, but also the like I guess in a sense they were like, well, you can do better than us, so you really need to try and do that. Like I appreciate that part of it, but it was also the like, they didn't provide the means to be able to do that.
It's almost like they knew that the world was going to change because it changed for them and they weren't prepared for it. So they were trying to put you in an environment where you might prepare for something, but they weren't sure what exactly that something was.
Exactly. And it's more the like, and so like the world today is very different than what they prepared me for at 18.
Right.
Like at 18, it was a clusterfuck of like the housing market had collapsed and like everybody, like people of our parents' generation were looking for the exact same jobs that I was looking for. And that was something rough to have to deal with, was the like having somebody with 20, 30 years experience trying to go for the exact same job I am.
Oh, yeah.
And they're absolutely going to win out because the experience is what's going to always win, hands
right.
down.
And it doesn't bode well for the environment when you're looking around and you're seeing people who have been doing the same work for 35 years and they're having a hard time finding work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the most treacherous part of my mid to early mid 20s to late 20s and into becoming 30. Yeah. Are you where you wanted to be when you were like a teenager, 20 years old, when you turned 30?
So I had this grand fantasy, and I say this because like I don't know why, but I had some weird belief that I was going to, like, my conviction was I wanted to go and work for the FBI and be some like crazy ass super spy, which doesn't make any sense. You want to go work for the CIA for that shit. But
I mean, I've seen enough ABC specials where dudes lie, so you could just lie. Get yourself a couple, 3 wives and like 6 kids and tell them you just work for the FBI when you don't.
Well, I mean, and if you work for the CIA, you just tell them you work for people, you work for the State Department, and you're good. But
they always say that, though, to like chum up an excuse for being gone for long periods of time. And they spend like a week with their family, a week without, but they're with their other family or the other family that nobody knew about.
But so as far as like, am I where I wanted to be? Absolutely not. Like I took an incredibly different like path.
Again, that's totally stereotypical for I think most 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like, I would love to meet a 30-year-old that knew 10, 12 years ago that they would be exactly where they are today.
Oh, absolutely. And like, so I was going to say I went into like, I was going to be in the FBI. And so I went into I went into college thinking like, I actually attended a 4-year university that I ended up dropping out of. But like I attended a university where my major was criminal justice. And like, I was going to be somebody and do something and change the world because that was what we were fucking taught as kids.
That's hot. Yeah. I love that shit.
And like, well, not only could I not afford it, and they were like, yeah, this isn't going to this isn't going to work out. And I didn't want to end up in, however, like tens of thousands of dollars,
hundreds of thousands of dollars,
potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. And so for me, it was more the like I moved forward and like ended up getting like, I worked as a server for a while. I worked in the factory for a while. I worked in a couple different factories for a while. And like, while it wasn't what I wanted to do, it was what I needed to do in order to be where I am now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think I'd go back and change much of what I went through.
Yeah, and it was more the like, not necessarily failing upwards, but that's kind of what
I fucking love that term. That's one of my favorite terms in the world, actually, failing upwards.
Like I failed upwards in the like, okay, well, I went from a server to working in a factory where I made more money. And then I went and failed upwards to making more money at a different factory. And then again with a different factory. And then I got laid off, and my girlfriend at the time, now wife, she was like, why don't we go and talk to a recruiter? Like, I know you're very, like, at the time I was really like, I don't want to go in the military. I don't want to get shot at. I don't want to, like, because like that was a realistic thing. Like,
yeah, at that period of time in our nation's history, I understand.
Yeah. It's died down a lot since then, especially in the Middle East. But like, that's
still a risk. Yeah.
Yeah. That was very much a real thing that happened over there. Like, people were still dying, like a couple hundred a year at least. And
there were people from our hometown that didn't make it.
Yeah. And it's not necessary. And it was more of a, like, that's not what I'm trying to do. But she was like, let's go see what they're about. Let's go talk to them. And like, if you like what you see, we can go from there. And so I went and talked to the dude. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I've kind of got nothing going for me. Like, there wasn't really much to be like, oh yeah, like this is totally what I'm doing next. And so like, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Like,
right.
Yeah.
I do want to say that this is in no way a recruiting tool. We're not advocating that other people make these choices that you and I have both made. We're just merely stating that these are the choices that we happen to make. And that this was the best choice that you thought at the time, and you seem to be okay with it. Yes. And like, yeah. So I ended up going to a recruiter, ended up getting recruited, for lack of a better term. Like, I know that there are absolutely, I'm not going to lie to you on this, there are absolutely recruiters out there that will lie to you in order to get you to sign documents to join the military. Like, that's absolutely a thing that will happen. And I don't like that. But the recruiter that I had was very upfront and honest with me. Like, yeah, this is a possibility. Like, hey, yeah, you might get sent downrange. You might end up having to do these type of things. But these are the benefits and the opportunities we can provide you. Yep. And these are the realistic risks. These are the cost benefits that you need to take into account. And so with me, it was more the like, taking that into effect, like, you know what, like cost benefit analysis type shit. Right. Like, like risk reward. Yeah, whatever it is. Like, I ended up taking that opportunity and moving forward with it, and decided, you know what, fuck it, let's do this. I'm kind of really excited to ask you this next question. If you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you say? Stop being so fucking awkward. Yeah, agreed. Did I say something similar? I feel like I'm right in the same boat as you. Like, I fucking petted people like without their consent. I should have got Me Too'd in my early 20s for like inappropriate groping. I'm just to guys and girls. Like, I was everybody was a victim, or possible victim. But I was so awkward. Yeah, but this isn't your episode, it's mine. Fuck it. Goddamn, calm down, bitch. I hear you. Preach, brother. But like, no, in all honesty, stop being so goddamn awkward. Okay, what else would you say? Well, stop being so goddamn awkward. Like, learn some goddamn social skills, which I don't know how the fuck you do that overnight as an 18-year-old, other than, moving the fuck out of your parents' house and, doing some shit with it. Like, at 18, when I turned 18, it was summer vacation between high school and college. I was still working the first job I ever had, which was as a dishwasher. And so I was pulling in decent money for like 18. I was pulling in decent money of like, oh, like it's $100 a week type shit. Like, which nowadays is like, what are you going to pay for with $100 a week? Right. Yeah. I can't eat for $100 a week. Neither can I. I can't afford food for $100. I can't do it. But so in all actuality, like if I were to go back and talk to my 18-year-old self, like if it didn't change the future, like between. Oh no! Say it did. Say it did. Say it did. Okay, then I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. Do ROTC, like go get your college education and get the military to pay for it. Like, again, I'm not trying to recruit people, but like that's a very legitimate thing that happens. You're like, if this is where I am now, I wish I would have done all this other shit to make it better. Yeah. And make my money where it is in that pocketbook. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah. And with that, I would have like very much done that and been. You're not gonna tell your 18-year-old self to invest in like Bitcoin or something strange? Like,
I mean,
let's get rich, bitch.
I mean, more again with the trying to affect the future too much.
Oh, come on. Tell them when the Red Sox win the series or some crazy shit like that.
Like,
I think the Cubs won too, didn't they?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
Those are both huge things that nobody ever thought would happen 30 years ago or even 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think both of them happened after we were 18 years old.
Yep.
I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure. What do you think 18-year-old you would say to you now?
Well, even going, like, if I may real quick go back to the previous question, like I honestly would have told myself, like, dude, I need you to dump the girl you're dating. Like, not necessarily, like, nothing wrong on her, but like there's a lot of shit coming your way and it's better you avoid it by dumping her now.
Yeah.
And so, like, with that, what would 18-year-olds say? Like, wait a minute, I'm not dating, or I'm not married to so-and-so. We don't have X amount of kids. Like,
right, and I'm in the fucking military?
Yeah, like, wait a minute, I sold out, I'm in the motherfucking military? Like, that, like, what do you mean I'm in the military? Like, what do you mean that I've moved away from my hometown? And, like,
I totally feel that. That's absolutely... I think 18-year-old me would have been shell-shocked about where, what the fuck? Do something. Just get off your ass. What the fuck?
I mean, every day you can be able to do something like that.
I don't know.
But no, like, you sold out, joined the military, but at the same time, I think 18-year-old me would have been proud at the fact that I'm not in my hometown anymore. I'm not, like, I, like, granted
you got out.
Yeah, like, I got out. My path took a different turn as far as, like, I didn't get granted I didn't get my college degree or anything like that. Like, I'm still, like, actively working on that. That's actually one of the things I'm doing right now. But like, what would 18-year-olds say about your life now? Like, you have a fucking kid, like,
right, where have you been?
Where have you
been? That might be a question.
Yeah, like where have you been? What have you done that has put you where you're at?
Right.
Like, and that's even the thing is, like,
do we get to do cool shit?
Yeah, like, do we get to do some cool shit? Like, nah, man, I'm sorry.
Yep, I'm a bit of a letdown. I'm not the partier that we thought we might be.
Or, like, hey, like, as you said, how many people have I, like, hooked up with? And, like,
did I say that? Did I say that's what 18-year-old me would say?
Like,
that's
how many times, not necessarily how many times have I gotten laid, but, like, how many people have I hooked up with? And it's like well, I'm sorry to say it's still in the single digits, buddy.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah. Like, I mean, again, with had I made different choices, like, I guarantee, like,
I do not think that you are a better person based on the higher number of people that you've slept with.
Absolutely not. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that, like, whether you're a prude and, like, I need to, have an exclusive amount of people, or, like, if I'm not married by this amount of people, then I'm a shitbag, or if, I have, 200 people, like, congratulations, you probably have every STD in the world, but
right. Yep.
But more the, like,
you're a containment hazard.
But, like, more the, okay, look,
you're like a dented can of beans. Like, you just keep being put back further on the shelf. Like, no, I'm all right. I don't need, like, what's the disease that you can get from
botulism?
Botulism. All right, go ahead with what you were saying.
But, like, it's more the, like, fuck. You interrupted me, and now I forgot what I was gonna fucking say.
Yeah, well, 'tis life, my friend. This is a sad part about being 30.
Yeah, that it is. Like, between alcohol and 30, like, fuck your kid. Your memory's fucked.
Yep. Who are you? How old are you?
But like, how many people are this? Like, there's people that, like, hey, you can hook up with this person, but you need to be able to be strategic about it. That's some shit I would probably throw myself.
We have some serious opportunities ahead of us, and I do not want you fucking this up like I did.
Exactly. Look, kid, there's some opportunities that are to come your way, and I'm gonna throw you this bone right now. You can get this bone.
I'm giving you the golden ticket to fucking Willy Wonka's kingdom right now. I swear to God.
I'm giving you the fucking golden ticket to vagina right now.
That's fucked up. I got rookie numbers, but we're gonna ump your numbers, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of getting into Bitcoin, we're gonna get into Tang. Do you have any other final thoughts on this Warlock turning 30 episode?
You know, it honestly, 30 isn't as bad as you think. Like, I know that everybody's like, it's the end all be all, like, oh my God, that 30 is when you get old. Like, because don't get me wrong, I was absolutely, like, when I was fucking between 18 and 29, that's absolutely where I was the 30 is fucking old.
Yeah, for sure.
And don't get me wrong, like, yeah, 30, like, I make the jokes of, like, I'm fucking old and shit like that. Like, I'm an old fat man and shit like that. But, like,
I'm with you.
30 isn't as bad as you really think it is. Like, there's a lot of shit that happens between where you are now and 30. And hopefully you take the initiative to be able to further and better yourself, to take those steps, like, take that leap. Even if it's not necessarily something that ends up working out for you, at least you can say you tried.
Yeah, like and for audience members in the post 40 category, I swear, and I think I speak for Fred and myself when I say this, that we will try to cherish these next 10 years far better than we would have our 20s, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
So that when we get into our 40s, we're not totally fucking screwy about ourselves. Just like, God damn it, I have done nothing for 20 years. What the fuck?
Oh, my memory's going to be fucking gone by 40. I swear.
Who are you? How did you get here?
What's your
Why
name
am I
again?
talking to you right now? What are these things on my face? This has been another episode of Talking Chaos. If you guys like what you hear, head on over to our Patreon at patreon.com/talkingchaos and sign up to be a patron. There's a ton of cool rewards. One of the great rewards is for people who spend at least $5 a month, you get early access to episodes. It can be up to 48 hours ahead of time, sometimes a week. We're getting better at scheduling those. Thank you again for tuning in, and have a great day.